Hello and welcome to today's lesson. And it looks like today's lesson is going to be actually a very, very quick lesson. I was going to spend a couple of hours going over this lesson, but I decided to do things a little bit different. And I'm going to go back and redo some of these videos. And I am going to do what we originally planned to do, and that's get these videos down to like 15 minutes. The problem is so many people have questions. Even after 2 hours of lessons, they still have questions. After series after series after series after series, still have questions. So it's not that we didn't need it. We needed it. We need all the hours that we can get. We need to be educated. We need to be taught. We need to be taught correctly. We need to understand. So none of it was wasted, but we do lose a lot of viewers. We do lose a lot of people because they're just disobedient. They're disobedient sons and daughters. They refuse to read. They refuse to understand. They refuse to study. I mean, you got something better to do. You got something better to do than to learn how to correctly interpret God's word. I mean, I can't help you. I mean, if go watch your movies, go play your cell phone games. I can't help you. You know, uh, if these words are not the most important thing in the world to you, then you don't deserve to understand them. I mean, that's just the reality of it. We're really and truly, we're talking about your life. Your life is on the line. You need to correctly understand and interpret these words, and you need to perform them. You need to do them, or else your life is on the line. Your soul, salvation versus condemnation. I mean, how else can we say it? You know, you don't need to be taught. You need to be preached to. You're a disobedient son and daughter. That's all you are. Whoever you are, I don't care who you are. Don't tell me you are not a disobedient son and daughter. Prove to me you're not a disobedient son and daughter. And explain to the whole world, what did God tell you to do? Did you read his words? Did you understand his words? Did you put those words in your heart? Did you put them in your mind? Did you let them do what they need to do and erase all the errors and lies and things that you've been taught? Can you go in this Bible and preach and teach? Then do it. So, the preaching lesson today is going to be very short. I'm going to make this short, 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 and sweet. And I'm just going to ask you as a brother, if you're a brother and sister of of mine, if your father is YeHoVaH, the creator of heaven and earth, then it's pretty simple. Do what our fathers asked you to do. It's that simple. He said, don't worship him in vain. Don't call upon his name in vain. If you're not going to learn his word as if your life depends on it, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting mine. This is for people who are serious about learning, serious about studying, serious about saving their lives, their souls, not just theirs, but their family members. I mean, this is very important. This is you know, what is the difference between my viewers and me? This is the most important thing in the world, literally. So for those that are stuck on figurative and literally, this is literally the most important thing in the world. It is more important than my parents. It is more important than my children. It is more important than my friends. It is more important than my job. It is more important than my life. It is more important than anything in this world. It is more important than all the little kids with cancer. It is important. It is more important than all the little starving kids in the world. It is more important than anything from the beginning of time to the end of time. This is the most important thing. These words are the most important things that will ever enter into your life. It is literally the difference between life and death. It is the most important thing you will ever encounter, you will ever know, you will ever learn or understand. This is it. This is it. You know, I've experienced a lot of things: heart attacks, blindness. Um, None of it is as important as this. I can't, I've, for those of you who know my story, I've been strangled twice. I've been drowned twice. I've lived through literally dozens and dozens of accidents. I'm here by the grace of God. None of it is as important as the words that have came out of God's mouth. That is the most important thing. That's the difference between me and whoever you are. It's when I read this word right here, Bereshit. It is the most important thing in the world to me. It is more important than breathing. It is more important than eating. As a matter of fact, when I first opened up the Bible, this is exactly what I did. I opened up the Bible to this very first word right here, and I left the Bible open. It was open on my phone. It was open on my computer. It was open laying on a desk in my home. And every single day of my life, I would wake up and I would stare at this word. And I would just pray, Father, give me the gift of interpretation. If you want me to understand, then I'll understand. And literally just looking at this word, just looking at it every single day, day after day after day. I would look at this word for 18 hours straight. I would just stare at it and I would just ask questions and I would just talk to myself and I would talk to God and I would say, Father, what are you trying to say? What does this B mean? What does this R mean? What does this shin mean? What is Bereshit? Why is it translated as in the beginning? Who done this? Where is it written? Did you give them permission? What's the man's name who wrote in the beginning? Who is this guy? Where did this language come from? And that's it. And I said, I won't go to this word, the next word, bara. I said, there's no reason for me to go to this word right here, bara. There's no reason. Because if I cannot understand this first word, which actually includes bara already, then there's no sense me going any further. Now, I did try to do what a lot of people do, and I tried to go to the New Testament because I couldn't figure out this first word right here. So I said, let me go to the New Testament. I went to the New Testament to Matthew, and I did the same thing with the genealogy. And we know the genealogy has been solved now. There is no Matthew genealogy problem. The genealogy's been solved. We know that the genealogy of Matthew is correct. However, I spent years on the genealogy of Matthew, literally just staring at it like this, going, what am I missing? What am I not understanding? And literally, it would seem as if I was lost because I refused to read the second verse. I refused to read the second chapter. If I can't understand this first word, then I can't understand any word in this Bible. It's that simple. So I stared at the screen until God literally gave me interpretation. And when he gives you interpretation, which we will have a lesson about that one day in the future, we're not going to have that lesson today. All I can say, it is the most amazing experience in the world. I have told you stories about the Baptist preachers that I have engaged with and they've challenged me. And during the challenge, The same thing happens to my opponent. Not me, my opponent. My opponent literally gets the gift of interpretation. And right in front of me, he's able to understand every single word, letter for letter, word for word. He understands perfect. He understands that what he has been taught is an absolute lie. And for just a moment, God lifts the veil so that he can see that everything that he has ever been told is a lie. And it is a chance for him to convert, for him to say, I will not move forward. If I cannot understand the first word, I will not read the second word. It is time for him to reevaluate, restructure, go back, start all over, get it right. And every single one, up until this very day, every single one says, no, I refuse to start over. I refuse to begin again. Simply refuse. And they go back to their religion, whatever it is, whether it's Islam, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Karaite, whether it's Christianity, and they do the exact same thing. But they do it with knowing now. They have seen with their own eyes. They've experienced the gift of interpretation. They see the error. They see the lie. They know it. And they choose the lie over the truth. And that's when we have to separate. We have to depart. We can no longer associate with them because they're not being deceived. They're not being lied to anymore. They are choosing deception. They are choosing to lie. They are choosing to go around this world and teach you and preach to you lies. Those are Satan's. Those are enemies. So, when you experience the gift of interpretation, it's just a moment, it's just a glimpse that God lets you understand perfectly so that you can see with a pure heart that everything you've ever been told is a lie. And that's a moment when you have the chance to follow him. You have the chance to start all over. You have the chance to listen, to learn, to obey. So that's what we're doing. We're starting all over. This is not my journey. I don't need to start all over. I'm at the finish line. Okay. But for me, I restart the race because people just can't finish the race. They quit. All you have to do is run from the start line to the finish line just one time. That's it. And people just won't do it. They'll start walking, they'll jog, they'll run for just a second, and then they'll give up and they'll quit. And what they don't understand is you don't get second chances. You are permanently veiled forever. The answers, the mysteries, they are not for you. You have made a choice. Your day of judgment has already came. You have been asked to choose the God of this Bible, the God of these words, or something else. And if you refuse to obey the God that created these words, then you've made your choice already. The interpretation, it is not for you. You are a Satan, you are a liar, and you deserve to go straight to hell. This is for those who've said, Billy, I believe. I don't understand. I don't have the gift of interpretation, but I choose to believe. I choose to follow and obey the God who created these words, the creator of heaven and earth. And I'll know if you're telling the truth because he doesn't speak to you in parables anymore. He speaks to you plainly as if you were a tiny child. And I'm proving it to you because I'm going to explain this word now so simple that a small child can understand. And then we'll move to the next word and to the next word and to the next word. and you'll see that every single word in this Bible, it'll just open right up. It'll just be so simple. It'll be so easy. And you'll know. But when I tell you that this is the most important thing in the world, this is the most important thing in the world. How important is it? How literal is it? Let me tell you how literal it is. Let me explain to you one final time before I open up your eyes one final time. This is literally judgment day for you. You must choose who you will worship. You must choose who you will believe, the God of this Bible or some man who speaks English and decides to tell you that this word is in the beginning. Who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to obey? This is your chance to be unveiled or permanently veiled. It's up to you. You can continue on and listen, or you can go watch somebody else go play your game, go do whatever you want. And you know what? I'm not going to say one mean, evil thing to you. I'll never say anything bad, nothing. But I'll know. I'll know you chose to be a Satan. I know you chose a lie over truth. I'll know. And I'll know those who've chose to journey with me in truth and in light with the one true God of these words, YeHoVaH. I'll know. I'll know. Because you'll be able to do the same thing as me. You'll understand every word in this Bible, and you'll be able to see clearly. You'll know who is and who isn't a liar, who is and isn't a Satan. You will not need anyone to teach you. You will look at this word and you'll know what this word is. But obviously, you're going to have to be taught first. And it is the most important thing you will ever experience in your life. Because what you don't understand is that you are literally choosing between light and darkness. And the moment that the choice becomes available, it may sound like an easy decision to just choose light and follow the Father, but it is not an easy choice. It means for a lot of you, you will have to abandon your husband and your wife, your mother, your father, your children, your church, your denomination. Your entire world will change. You will feel as if you are all alone, as if there is no one else in the world. It's just you versus Satan. And it's a big, big pill to swallow. You'll go and try and teach your husband and wife. You'll try and teach your mother and father. You'll try and teach your children, and you'll find out that they have literally chosen to be liars and Satans. And it is the most heart-wrenching thing that you will ever experience. It is worse than physical death. It is worse than physical torture and physical death. So you've been warned, and I've already explained. For those who believe, you can see the truth in my words. This is not for those that don't believe. This is for those that believe. So, my fellow viewers, very few of you there are, but here we go. This word contains 6 letters. 6 letters. If I wanted to put it into some type of explanation, I could say that you must know 6 things to correctly interpret this word. What are the 6 things that you need to know to correctly interpret this word? You need to know the 6 pictures. One is a house, one is a head, one is an ox, one is a shin or 2 teeth, one is an arm, a yud, it just means work, and one is a tav or a mark. You just need to know those 6 things, those 6 pictures that Dr. Michael Brown tell you that we are making up. We're not making them up. I didn't draw the pictures. I didn't create the pictures. I didn't give the world the pictures. God himself, through Moses, gave us those pictures and understandings. Now, just like I showed you that this word Hashamayim has something to do with those pictures. It is a picture of revelation, a man who is being raised from the dead into a praising position. That's what this picture is. It's two teeth that represent a shin. It's a mem that represents water, a yud that represents work, and another m that represents water. We went over it. And now we know. That's how we can understand what this word is. We understand those in Shemaim, it's just 4 pictures. In Hashamayim, it would be 5 pictures. So, what do these pictures have to do with this word? Well, if you group these pictures together, there are several ways to group them. One is to group this in a group of 6. So if I group it into a group of 6, I get the word Bereshit. That is one understanding. I can group this into another group. Instead of a group of 6, I can do 2 groups of 3. So I have bara and then sheet. 2 different groups. There's another way I could group it. I can group it into groups of 2s. Instead of groups of 3s, I can do it in groups of 2s. Right? So we can do it. We can do it in groups of 1s, individual letters, which is the strongest. If you do it in groups of 1, that's the strongest interpretation you can get. If you want to do it in combinations, then it'll be combinations that are known to the world. For example, if you break it down into a B, and then you break it down into 3-letter word of Rosh, and then an ending, that would be a group of 3. You understand? A group of 3. Well, if I broke it into 3, into bara, and then sheet, it would be a group of 2. If I broke it down into individual letters, you can see that it would be a group of 6. And so depending on how you break this down, it's like levels. You will get more and more and more understanding. So obviously, if I go and I interpret all 6 pictures, that'll be the strongest understanding that you can get. So, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do all 6 pictures. This first letter is a bet, and it has something to do with the house. So, let's just see if this has something to do with a house. So, all I need to know, this first word has something to do with a house. So I can simply say something to do with a house, created God, and we're not going to use the word heaven anymore. We know that this outer space. Now, but we are told to call it Shamayim. So I will say Shamayim. My listeners will understand Shamayim. And if you do not, then go back and learn correctly. So, something to do with a house, created God, Shamayim, and Haaretz. That didn't help us. All right, well, let's go to the next picture. It is a head. So this is, instead of in a house or something to do with a house, this is something to do with a head. Something to do with a head, created God, Shamayim, and Haaretz. What does it have to do with the head? We can do the third picture. This is an ox's head, and it represents leading or leader. So something to do with leading, something to do with leader, something to do with an ox's head, created God, Hashamayim, and Haaretz. Then we have this one that we already know very well. It's a shin, and it means to separate. So this could be something to do with separate. Created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. Then we have this picture that means work, something to do with work. Created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. And then the last one is a tav, and it is a mark. It is a mark. It is a sign. So it has something to do with marks or sign. Something to do with marks. Created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. Well, which one is it? Is this word talking about a house, a head, a leader, a separation, a work, or a tav? Which one is it? It's all six. It's all six. All six of them are correct. You can interpret this first word technically 6 different ways. And all 6 work absolutely perfect. So, if we use this, we're going to keep this English understanding of in, because when we translate the first letter, the bet, it means in or inside. That is usually how it is interpreted. There is a better understanding. Instead of in or inside, it literally is better translated as housed, house, housed, housing. It means to house something is like putting clothes on it. It's like putting it into putting shelter around it. It's like finding an animal, right, that is wounded. It can't be moved. So we can't move the animal into the house, so we build a house around the animal. If you can understand that, that is what this bet is representing. This bet is not representing inside. It is representing building a house around something. So that's what's happening here. Is we're building a house around God's creations. So you can say, you can either say, in a house created God these 2 things, Shamayim and Haaretz, outer space and earth. But we wouldn't know what the house was. But we could understand inside of a house, some kind of house, God created Shamayim and Haaretz. If we go to the next letter, it's a head. It literally means head. And we can understand the head of a man, the head of a tree, the head of a mountain, the head of a building. So if we use this understanding, then this would be in a head. In a head of some kind, created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. If we go to the third letter, this is a lead or leader. It is an ox's head, and it means to rule, to lead. So this would be in a leader and some type of lead. And in some type of lead created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. The next one is a shin, and it means to separate. So this would be translated as in some kind of separation. In some kind of separation created God, Shamayim and Haaretz. Then the next letter represents work. So you could say in some type of work. In some kind of work created God, Shamayim and Haaretz. And then the last one is a mark or a sign. And you could say in a certain mark or in a certain sign, in this mark, in this sign, created God, Hashemayim and Haaretz. Now, you can, like I said, you can put them together in many combinations. You can make them 3-letter combinations. Badra sheep. You can make it 3 groups, as in Beh, and then Rosh is head, and then you can add this 2-letter ending, which we would just say Yud, and tav are working and marking. This is just tav after tav after tav, or mark after mark after mark. You could do it in a group where you have all six, which would be this Hebrew understanding of Bereshit. It really doesn't matter. They all work. They all work. If you want the strongest understanding, then you need to perform every combination possible. You need to break this down into, let's see, um, it would be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, whatever that comes out to be. That's how many different combinations you would need to understand this word perfectly. And when you understand all those combinations, then you would have basically a speaking in tongue or gift of interpretation level of understanding. You would have a level that is equivalent to prophecy. You would understand this word to the point that when you speak, it literally will sound as if you're speaking in tongue. It will sound as if you're interpreting, and it will sound as if you're prophesying, because you will be perfectly relaying the understanding of this word to the to the best of human ability. You will be what's called perfect. You will be perfectly preserving God's word, perfectly relaying it in a way. And in this particular word, it's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 possible combinations, and you'll have to know every single one. Um, so it's easier just to call it levels. And this particular word has 6 levels of understanding. It just means it's got something to do with 6 pictures, and we need to know 6 different things to understand this. Now, with the word like Shamayim or Hashamayim, 2 of the letters repeat. So once you learn that letter, it's the same all throughout God's word. You just, in this case, you just have 1, 2, 3, 4 letters that you need to learn. The other one is just duplicated. Once you learn it, it'll be the same letter. So you when you have those type of words, you don't have to do the 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 combinations. You can leave out one of the letters because it's a shortcut. It's fast track. So in that case, you just need to understand 4 letters, and then you can correctly interpret this word. Now, whether you understand this or follow along or not, it's irrelevant, because I'm about to break this word down, and I'm about to make this very, very simple to you. Okay. So if we look, God literally says that and it doesn't matter what understanding you have, you can understand the English word in the, and then instead of beginning, a blank, because you are not supposed to know what this word is. If you're an English speaker and you come to God's word and you read this word, you would not know that this is in the whatever. You wouldn't know that. You would have to leave it blank, and you would need to fill in the blank to understand. And we have 6 different things we can fill in the blank. So we can say, in the house created God outer space and earth. What house are we talking about? We could say, in the head created God outer space and earth. What head are we talking about? We could say, in the lead. What lead are we talking about? We could say, in separation created God. What separations are we talking about? We could say, in the work. What works are we talking about? And we could say, in the marks. What marks are we talking about? So let's start with the mark, okay? And let's try and understand what mark has to do with anything. Mark is represented by tav, and it literally means to mark something. It's an action. Every picture represents an action. This represents marking, something to do with marking. And it is a sign. It is just like if I went into the woods and I wanted you to know that I was in those woods, I would go and put a mark in the woods so that when you found that mark, you could say, oh, here's where he was. He put a mark. Now, the mark that God uses is always the same. It is an X. It is a picture of an X, as in X marks the spot. So in modern day, we do not put that picture in there. That is the lie, and that is the error. That is the error and the fault of all of these so-called programs, Bibles, whatever you want to call it. This is the same mistake and sin that they make. This needs to be an X so that you can see it as an X. And every time you see an X, you know it's X marks the spot. It means mark or sign. But it doesn't matter. They've represented it with a tav. So fine. We can replace the tav with two sticks. We know how to do that. We can do that in our mind. Or now that you know it's two sticks, you can just use this tav. So it's literally saying in this tav, created God outer space and earth. What tav? What in the world is it talking about? All we have to do is look for the mark. X marks the spot. So we literally start going through God's letters, all of God's words, until we find a mark. And there it is. We did not have to go very far to find this mark. This mark right here, it is literally a mark, and it marks the next word, which is Hashemayim. Hashemayim is a creation, and it is outer space. And it is now represented by a mark. Now, the mark is not an X. It's just telling us that this Hashemayim is now a mark. It is now a way to identify something. So I can identify what God wants me to identify by noticing this mark. It is a mark. Now we know that there are more than one mark. There are marks. There are more than one tav. So let's just go find the other tav. And here is the other one. It's literally telling us these are two different marks. Two different marks. One mark for outer space, one mark for Earth. And it's literally saying, and I'm interrupted live. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, folks. So if we go back and we look at the first word, this is just telling us God created in marks. God created in marks. It's that simple. Here is an example of a mark. Hashemayim is an example of a mark. Haaretz is another example of a mark. So God created in marks. That should be understandable. I went ahead and gave you a hint, and I've told you there are more than two marks. We're only told about two of the marks here. So God created in marks. All right, let's go to the next letter. The next letter means works. What in the world does it have to do with works? Well, if we go to chapter 2, let's see. Uh, No, actually, no, I don't want to go to chapter 2. I want to go to the end of chapter 1, I think. Maybe, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, yeah, we'll just use the second. We'll use the second because you can use chapter 3 and you can use chapter 5 as well. I'm going to use Genesis chapter 2. And if you look in Genesis chapter 2, it says, and thus were finished the mark of Hashamayim and the mark of earth. We already know those are marks. It says, and was finished those marks and all their host, everything in them. It says, and finished right here his work. So we now know that they are also called works. Heaven and earth is a work. So let's go back and we can understand now. Go back to the first word in the Bible, and we know it has something to do with works. And here is one work, and here is a second work. Outer space and earth are marks. They are also works. What about separations? We've already studied that this is separations. And surely we can see that outer space and earth are representations. They're separations. They're separate things. They're just two examples of separations. What about leaders? When it comes to leaders, this ox head also means first. It can also just mean one. So, for example, there's only one Hashamayim. There's only one Haaretz. There's only one of these. So, we could say these are ones. Also, you could say they are firsts because this is the first Hashamayim. It is the one Hashamayim. It is the only Hashamayim. It is the leading Hashamayim. This is the leading Haaretz. So they are ones, firsts, they are leads. We move to the next letter, and it means head. What do they have to do with heads? Head is the understanding that is trying to be given to us. Because when we do all of the different combinations of these words, the word that just stands out is head. So if all of these letters were treated equally, which they are treated equally, you would not, whenever you're going over the combinations, this one combination will literally jump out at you. In other words, all of the letters are treated equally, but when all of the letters are together, they form like a sign, like a big blinking sign that says, hey, pay attention to this combination. And it has something to do with head. So we're going to leave head for a moment. We're going to come back to head. Let's go to the last letter, which is actually the first letter. And this has something to do with a house. And it just so happens that house and head, they're pretty closely related to each other. And the understanding of both of them are going to come to you at the exact same time. Okay. So if we go to our Hashamayim, for example, and we build a house around it, it is the same thing. Building a house around it is the same thing as taking it and putting it inside of some head. Okay. It's just the head would become a house for it. It's literally like taking this word off of the page and putting it inside of your mind. And your head would now become a house. It would be housing that word inside of your head. So house and head, they're doing the same thing. The house or the head is providing shelter. It's sheltering. The creations are done inside of this house or inside of this head. And of course, that is the final understanding that we need to try and understand is what in the world does it have to do with heads? Well, the key is when it starts off with this house, which is translated as in. It has something to do with inside of. And I told you a better understanding than in is inside of. I already taught you. You just need to go back and pay attention. I already gave you the hint to figure it out. It is inside of something. And it is more understood as a house. It's better understood as a house. In other words, Shamayim, it cannot move. I can't take it and place it in something. That means wherever the Hashamayim is, I have to build around it like it's a wounded animal that can't move. So I have to shelter in place, if you understand that. Well, let's go to some examples so it will just jump right out at you. How can we be in a house or in a head? What in the world does that mean? Well, we go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, and we read, For in 6 days made YeHoVaH Hashemayim and Ha'aretz. We simply know that it is inside of 6 days. So we know what it's inside of. 6 days. Here we have another verse. It says, For inside 6 days made YeHoVaH Hashemayim and Ha'aretz, outer space and the earth. So now we understand it's talking about inside of 6 days. So let's go back now and we can understand what these heads or what these houses are. If we understand this, instead of in the beginning, we translate it as in 6 days. In 6 days, in 6 houses, in 6 heads, in 6 leads, in 6 firsts, in 6 separations, in 6 works, in 6 marks. There you have it. And there are 6 letters, one for each day. You need 6 different understandings. They are marks, they are works, they are separations, they are leads, they are heads, and they are houses. That is what we refer to as a day. A day is a house, a leader, a head, a separation, a work, and it is also a mark. It fulfills all of these. So, some people will say, okay, Well, even after we have the understanding, what's wrong with in the beginning? We've already discussed this is not the beginning. This is the equivalent of saying in 4.5 years. 4.5 years is not a beginning. Beginning is incorrect. And it's not beginning as in one, as in singular. This is plural. It's in 6 days. It's not in one day. He didn't create the heaven and the earth. He created Shamayim and Haaretz. He didn't do it in a single day. He done it in 6 days. If you refer to the first day as the beginning, you can't refer to day 3 as the beginning and day 5 as the beginning and day 6 as the beginning. You can only have one beginning. Well, unless you understand that each day is a new beginning because there is a new creation. So, for light, day 1 is the beginning. For outer space, day 2 is the beginning. For Earth, day 3 is the beginning. And what we have is we have a period of 6 days, and each day represents a new beginning. And so that we have 6 beginnings. So this is not in the beginning. It could be more accurately interpreted as in the beginnings, in the firsts, as because that's what this aleph is representing. That's where they're stuck at. They're stuck on the aleph as representing first or representing one. And when you use it as one, it's just one single beginning. But we know that is not correct. There are 6 beginnings. There are 6 ones. It's plural. It's not one. It's ones. And we now understand why it would be one plural. It's because it's one after one after one after one. It's one light, one outer space, one earth. You understand? It's one after one after one. It's beginning after beginning after beginning. It is mark after mark after mark. It is work after work after work. It is separation after separation after separation. It is one after one after one. It is head after head after head. It is house after house after house. It is simply creation after creation after creation after creation. And it is day after day after day after day. And there are a total of 6. So, if we look at how Moses referred to this, it is in 6 days made YeHoVaH outer space and earth. Here's another one. In 6 days made YeHoVaH Hashemayim and Haaretz, outer space and earth. So why don't we translate this correctly? For in 6 days created God Hashemayim and Haaretz. For in 6 and days, the day is understood as all 6 understandings. All 6 understandings represent what we call a day. A day, one day is a mark, one day is a work, one day is a separation, one day is a one day is a first, one day is a lead or leader, one day is a head, one day is a house. And there you have it, a perfect understanding. This is simply in head, plural, heads. We now know what kind of head it is. Once you figure out what kind of head it is, then you can interpret it correctly. Once you know that it is a captain, you can translate it as captain. Once you know it is a ruler, you can translate it as ruler. Once you know it is the head of, for example, the head of our government would be the president, something of that nature. Once you know what head it is, then you can translate it correctly. We now know what head or heads this is referring to. It's referring to days. So we can translate this correctly now. And this is in days. Day, plural. This is in days. In days created God. Hashemayim and Haaretz. How many days? We know 6 days. All we have to do is go and read. 4th day, 5th day, 6th day. There are 6 days. 6 days. 4 in 6 days. There's 6 of them. Now that we know, we can understand perfectly. So if you would have left this blank like I told you to, this is in some type of head. So you would just say in head, plural, in heads. And then when you found out what kind of heads these were, you come back and fix it. We find out what kind of head this is as soon as God creates the Hashemayim. He tells us this is created in the 2nd day. And Haaretz is created in the 3rd day. They are separations. 2nd day, 3rd day. They're different homes, different heads, different leads, different separations, different works, and different marks. They are different days. Now we understand perfectly. This is referring to days. And later on in the Bible, you will see it translated. For in the day, for in the day, for in the day that God created man, for in the day that God created beast, for in the day that God created the Shamayim, for in the day that God created the earth. We understand it's referring to in the day, not the beginning. It's not the beginning. If you were going to use beginning, this would be in the beginnings. It would at least have to be plural. Because if you're going to refer to 6 days as beginning, it would be 6 beginnings. So and what's the point of calling it a beginning? You would still have to say in 6 beginnings. Well, there's no reason to translate day into beginning. We have a perfect word for it already. 6 days. Now, if you want to understand beginnings, to use that, go ahead. Just like if you want to understand outer space, go ahead. But don't call it that. You call it Shemayim. You can understand beginnings or 6 beginnings, but don't call it that. They are 6 days, 6 yoms, 6 days. So now, this is not for those that don't believe. Dr. Michael Brown doesn't believe that this word has anything to do with those 6 pictures. And he challenged the entire world. He said, who is out there in this world that can interpret this based on those 6 pictures? My answer to Dr. Michael Brown is YeHoVaH, the creator of heaven and earth. He is living and dwelling right here on this earth amongst us. He lives inside of people just like me. And when he speaks, you might want to listen. He has told us time and time again, it has everything to do with those pictures. And if you take just one of those pictures away, it is impossible for anyone to be saved. This is the most important thing that this earth has. It is God's word. Without it, you have no God, you have no Savior, you have no prayer, you have no hope, you have no chance whatsoever. It's over. So, stop being a liar, stop being a Satan. Replace God's word back to the way it is supposed to be, preserved for the world. Understand by interpretation. If you can't interpret Dr. Michael Brown, then maybe you should give up teaching. You should give up preaching. You are not in the position to be a teacher. You haven't been given permission. You haven't been given the gift of speaking in tongue and interpretation. It is a role, and it is a role not based out of work, and it's not based out of knowledge. It is based out of honor. It's a position granted and given by God Himself. It was given to Moshe. It was given to Yeshua. It was given to the 12 apostles. It was not given to you, Dr. Michael Brown. At least not, it was not the correct time. Now is the time. You want to teach and preach, you want to be given permission, then you are given permission right now, today, by YeHoVaH. You're given permission only if you preserve the word correctly. Stop lying. Stop being a Satan and a disobedient son. Stop telling the world that it has nothing to do with those pictures. Because as you can see, it has everything to do with those pictures. And if you lose one of them pictures, you've lost God's word. And you know that the word was manifested into the flesh of our Messiah. And you must hear him. You must obey him. And what did he say? He said, don't take away and don't add to those pictures, not one single jot or tittle. And in a picture form, it simply means not one dot or one line. Lines can be straight or curved. You will take your pen and you will place it on the paper and it will create a dot. You will drag it around and it will create a line. And it is these dots and these lines that you use to draw pictures. That means you must have every dot, every line. The picture needs to be correct and accurate. It must portray the correct understanding. So now, if I've made it simple enough, viewers, all I can tell you is if you don't understand, all I can ask you to do is use your mouth and communicate. But I've already given you the answers. You need to do the work. If you don't know the pictures, go and learn the pictures. You don't even need the pictures. You can literally start just like I'm showing you right here. And you can find out what every single letter represents. You can find out what this hey represents. You know it means thee. You know it means to reveal. Just look at how it's used every time it's used. You know this vav means to bind because every time it's used, that's what it does. It binds something. You know that this tav is a mark because every time it's used, it marks something. I mean, it's all right here, plain as the nose on Dr. Michael Brown's face. I'm sorry to pick on you, Dr. Michael Brown, but guess what? You can look at it a different way. YeHoVaH is calling you. He's calling you out in front of the whole world. You wanted a challenger, Dr. Michael Brown, or YeHoVaH. YeHoVaH himself has rose up to challenge you. I'm ready. I'm ready, Dr. Michael Brown. Are you? I would be very careful, Mr. Dr. Michael Brown, because I am not a liar. I most certainly speak in tongue, and I know you do not. I most certainly interpret, and I know you do not. I most certainly prophesy, and I know you do not. How do I know this for a fact? Because I possess the spirit of YeHoVaH. And if you don't believe me, you are going to go straight to hell. It's that simple. So, challenge me or don't. But be careful when you call me a liar, because you're not calling me a liar. You're calling YeHoVaH a liar. And that's up to you, whether you want to believe it or not. I'm doing everything I can to save you, brother. Wake up. Here it is, before the world, for everyone to see. Dr. Michael Brown, if you can't see YeHoVaH behind these words, I can't help you. It's between him and you. It has nothing to do with me. Nehemiah Gordon, if you can't see YeHoVaH is calling out to you, I can't help you. It's between you and him. Sam Shimon, if you can't see YeHoVaH, he's calling out to you, brother. Wake up. All right, that's it for today's video. We will go to the next word tomorrow. We'll do Vajra. I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going. It's just very disheartening. I've been teaching this for ever since I was a small child. Literally, the first time I preached, I was 1.5 years old. I've been preaching since I was 1.5 years old. If you haven't heard any preaching by now, you ain't never going to hear it. Never. There's nothing I can tell you that I haven't already told you. I can repeat the lesson over and over again. That's what I do, as I just repeat it over and over again. That's what a yud and a water does. Remember, the water, here's the yud and the water. The water is God's Spirit. And what does God's Spirit do? It works over and over and over and over and over again in hopes that you'll wake up and you'll believe and you'll convert and you'll fall down on your hands and knees and you'll give glory to the only sound that can save you. That sound is the sound of YeHoVaH. I'll see you in the next video.